What's up, everybody? In today's video, we're going to be reviewing the book Irresistible by Adam Alter. And one of the reasons I wanted to review this book is because I heard Joe Rogan talk about it a lot on his podcast. And if you listen to Joe Rogan at all, you hear him talking about the book Irresistible. And based on what he said, it seemed like a self-help book to me because he talked about how it relates to using your phone and addiction to your phone. And that's really what this book is about. It's about behavioral addiction, specifically as it relates to technology, but just behavioral addiction overall. And behavioral addiction it's basically any type of addiction other than substance, as much as I can think. I think that's basically what it is, because it's not alcoholism, it's not addiction to hard drugs, it's everything else: using your phone, pornography, video games, fitness, and other types of physical things that we have to do in order to get through the day, that you do repetitively. And I'll get a little bit more into differences of what I believe between positive addictions and negative addictions later on. But the book starts out with opening up about how the people that invent these things, like Steve Jobs and other people in Facebook, Google, they don't let their children use technology because they realize how addictive it is. And then the book jumps off from there. More specifically, it gets into gaming and phone technology. And I thought the whole book was going to be about phone usage, about how we're all addicted to our phones. We wake up in the morning, we check social media. Many of us check social media. We check our emails if we go to work. Many people check their emails. I thought it was all going to be about phones, but it's really not. It's about how technology has made things more difficult, but how technology has spiraled us into other addictions. One of the things this book talks about is addiction to fitness, which I think is a lot more common too with Instagram, and how that goes hand in hand with eating disorders. And I thought that was pretty interesting. But one of the reasons the author wrote this book is because of the symptoms in society. And what are those symptoms? One of the symptoms is that people aren't developing empathy. It takes time to develop empathy, and you have to interact with humans. People aren't doing that. We're focusing more on our phones and dealing less with people. We have shorter attention spans, and because we have shorter attention spans, we're not developing empathy. And that is a sign of behavioral addiction. Another sign is that people aren't graduating from school as much as they used to, from college, and people aren't saving. They're giving too much into short-term pleasure and not putting things off and not looking at the longer term. Because in order to save money, in order to go through difficulties of graduating college, you have to think longer term. And being addicted to phones and getting addicted to short-term hits like gaming, it's not allowing people to think longer term and develop those longer term skills. Another symptom I think that we can look at now is that society is becoming more split. There's extremes in society, and it's really the technology that's getting us to that point. If we didn't have technology, we probably wouldn't be this split up, because we're getting too much information all at once. And so what this author does throughout the book is analyzes various stories. There's a story in the beginning about Vietnam vets and how they went off to war, and a lot of Vietnam vets got addicted to heroin. But when they came back to the United States, they were able to kick the habit. And what they found in the study was that this was because they left the environment. And then there's other stories in here about various people getting addicted to games and how they could go into rehab to help them avoid addiction to games. But how also addiction to various things like heroin or other types of physical things is easier to get rid of because you can escape the environment. But phones, technology, email is a lot harder to kick that addiction, because it's a lot harder to be in society as it is today and not use the internet. So that's a little bit harder. And just to go a little bit more down that, and just to go more in depth in that, we first talked about the symptoms, and there's a lot of information throughout the stories in this book about how to avoid the problem of behavioral addiction. And one of the items we just discussed was changing your environment. So if you're around bad things, for example, people that do drugs are typically around people that do drugs, and they're around the same friends over and over. So they feel that peer pressure. But if you leave your environment, then you're less likely to do the bad things. And this could just be for any type of addiction that you have. Another thing is goals. A lot of people, to get rid of addictions, they have goals, or just doing things in their life, they choose to create goals. And sometimes these goals will get you into an addiction. And one way to one way to get out of an addiction is to kick the goals. Don't be so super goal oriented, because it could cause you to spiral out of control, develop an addiction, or just, if you're super goal oriented, it might get you to an addiction that you don't want to be in. And this is something goal oriented would be fitness. Like if you make a certain goal in fitness, you might become addicted to fitness, and it might just be detrimental to your health to be constantly focused on fitness, your weight, a certain workout. So that's how developing goals could actually get you into an addiction. And another way that you can make sure that you're not getting addicted, or to avoid an addiction, and I think this is just a lot of things in life, is to look longer term. Right now, you might feel good doing whatever it is, whether it's eating ice cream, eating something bad, playing a video game for just a short period of time. It's going to give you a hit right now, but is it benefiting your life over the long term? Are you meeting the goals that you want to meet? And as we said before, you don't want to get too goal oriented, but you should have some goals in life, whether that's having better relationships, saving more money, spending more time with your kids. Are you sacrificing that in order to get a short-term pleasure from watching TV, video games, etc.? Another thing too is, don't keep your phone near your bed. It's a lot easier to get addicted to your phone if you keep it near your bed. And if you're into self-help at all, you've seen this everywhere. Every self-help book talks about this, but it's hard for us to do. You need to keep your phone in a different room and keep it away from yourself. This isn't just to reduce behavioral addiction to phones, but it's also to improve your sleep. If you improve your sleep, your whole life is going to get better. So that's just something that you could do to help kick the phone habit. And I think we all need to kick the phone habit. We all need to just get off of technology. It's good in some respects of how we're building our society, but it's also detrimental. It's reducing our attention span. It's creating all those negative consequences that we spoke about earlier, whether it's addiction to video games, reducing our empathy, destroying our children's lives, things like that. And another big thing that this book talks about is not letting your kids use technology, because kids don't have regulation, and regulation is like the ability to spend your time wisely, ability to limit yourself. So kids don't have this, so you should not let your kids use technology until they're past a certain age. And I think the age he discusses is 2 years old. But the longer you wait, the better your child is, because they're going to build empathy. They're going to build the ability to regulate their emotions and regulate their ability to use technology. It's real easy because it distracts your children, but it's important that you don't let them use technology at an early age. So those are the things it discusses. It discusses the symptoms, the solutions, and it does that in various stories about people becoming addicted. It talks about World of Warcraft, about Instagram, about Candy Crush, how all these addictive technologies have come through society. It also talks about scientific studies that basically discuss the symptoms and the solutions to behavioral addiction. But the counterpoint to all of this is that there's a quote in here about life being a series of addictions, which I agree with, because without addictions, we would not survive in certain respects. Because a lot of what we do, a lot of the most successful people in the world are routine oriented, and this could be perceived as addiction as well. And also the fitness thing, people that are very fit can be healthy, or they are healthy, a lot of the people that are very fit, but some can be unhealthy. They can have eating disorders, but some people might see that as an addiction. So it's also easy, if you look at the world, to perceive everybody as having some kind of addiction, whether it's to an e-cigarette, smoking, eating, doing things in a certain way, going to a job they dislike. Because one of the things about a negative addiction is that you do the same thing over and over again and you get a negative result. And that's one of the common signs of an addiction, is that you do it no matter what because it gives you that same feeling over and over again. Like a lot of people that smoke, they don't like smoking anymore, but it's just an addiction. So a lot of people go to jobs they don't like. They do a lot of things, and even fitness, even working out. You might not actually like working out, but you do it because it makes you healthier. So in my view, there's positive addictions and then there's negative addictions. Because the people that are the best at something in their life are addicted to it. For example, professional video game players are basically addicted to playing video games 12 plus hours a day. Professional fitness people are doing things for 10 plus hours a day. Well, a lot of times might not be working out, but they're focusing on their nutrition and other things in their life related to fitness. People that are best in finance and a lot of other areas do it all day long. So I view it as there's positive addictions, there's negative addictions, and you have to really analyze that and analyze the effects it has in your life. If the things that you're doing over and over again aren't bringing you the results that you want, then it's probably a negative addiction that you should focus on getting rid of. And so I would recommend this book to anybody to analyze whether they have behavioral addictions. And there's a lot of tips in here that can help you get rid of those addictions, help you analyze them and get rid of them. And I've given some tips in here about how to get rid of them. So I think the key things about kicking an addiction is changing your environment, thinking longer term for sure. Keep your phone away from yourself, because anything related to your phone has to be near you. You just have to get used to not using your phone. But there's a lot of other tips in here that you can use to kick a behavioral addiction. So I recommend picking this book up. It's really good to understand addiction and to combat addiction. So that was Irresistible by Adam Alter. Make sure to subscribe to this channel to get my future book recommendations and book reviews, and like this video. Thanks for watching.